lot of slides today, so.
Uh-oh, he's going to go doubles.
Look out, doubles. Yeah, if I go too fast, catch me, please.
That's why I have to sit up in the front.
Yes.
Yeah. I think most of you recognize already. So Mickey Mellon, Green Mellon Media. There's our beautiful team. Chantel was supposed to be here too, but I don't know where she is. So can't keep up with everyone all the time. All things WordPress.com for our stuff. I encourage you, if nothing else, to join the Facebook group. There's a link to it on there. If you have questions in between sessions, you can post them there. Hopefully we can help you out. And our Slack channel that we're working on getting going. Chris is really going to work hard to help us get it hopping.
I try. I post stuff and then nobody
I know.
responds.
I know. Once we get it going, it'll go pretty good. But yeah, you've got allthingswordpress.com/Slack. You can join us and chat with me and Chris. At this point, we'll get it going.
I monitor it too.
Yeah, there you go.
I just lurk.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should.
There are probably a lot of lurkers.
She lurks.
Speaking of just lurking, we have our Google Space that I set up a couple weeks ago. We'll probably close it down for a few more weeks, but that's why I set it up. They have this new product called Spaces for little groups, so let's just play with it and see. And I don't know that we'll use it a lot, but you may see it and know that it's good for one of your clients or something. And I don't know. So gnn.2/WP Space will take you to our little Google Space. It's kind of Hangouts meets Slack meets other things. It's kind of cool, but there's already other things, so I don't know if it's going to be anything, but we'll see. But it's fun. Let's go play. You know.
I can't even keep up with Slack. I don't even.
Really?
You need more, yeah, all the Slack
thing
things.
to monitor.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue. One more thing to monitor. We already have Excel, but we'll check it out. So next month, Diane and Aaron are not having theirs. So in a week from now, on the first Thursday, when you normally be here for developer stuff, you'll be all by yourself because they'll be in Asheville.
On
On their way to Asheville. For WordCamp up there, and others of us will be out of town, and so no developer one next month. June 9th is Kathy's in the evening, 48 resources go from newbie to pro. June 16th back in here, backing up, updating, restoring your site, getting you to FileZilla and MySQL backups, and all the technical things, but hopefully simplify so you can understand it better, because there are certainly good tools like Backup Buddy and stuff to help, but if those blow up, you're in big trouble. And the things we'll show you here will work always, no matter how bad shape you get into. So that'll be kind of fun. Then June 23rd, Tom McFarland, who runs his own blog and his own company and stuff, can talk business stuff that he does and how he's put his little companies together and done that kind of stuff. He just posted on his blog today more about what he's going to talk about, so tommcfarland.com, you can read more about this session in particular, what he'll be talking about there. And then going a month further out, Isaac in the back here will be sharing advanced custom fields stuff with us at a beginner kind of level. I mean, it's a fairly advanced plugin, but don't get overwhelmed by the name and stuff. It's a great tool for all of us to be able to use to build custom fields and things without having to write a bunch of code. Is that fair?
Sounds good.
So there you go. So that should be a good one too. And then I don't know what we're doing after that, and there'll be other ones in between, but there's what's coming out. I wasn't sure if Carl will be here, but ClickHost. Yeah, they bring food on other weeks. So. No food today, but if you come on the third Thursday, you get some Tom and She. Let's dig in. So, one cool thing we're going to try here, let's see how this works out. We use Google Slides for all our presentations, and they have a new thing for questions, for Q&A. So this at the top is going to stay up there the whole time, goo.gl/slides/uf5x36. If you have a question, go to that address, and it's almost like a little chat room kind of thing. You can post questions in there. If you see other good questions, you can thumb them up. We'll wait to the end, we'll see what kind of questions we have, and go from there. It's really, and that'll be up there the whole time, so you get questions later, that'll just float at the top. So as I go through things, if you have questions, post them there. If you see someone else already posted your question, give it a little thumbs up, and yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, I like trying all the new toys and see if it works, so we'll see if it works. So, smooth projects. What is a smooth project? There's two sides to it, I see really. One, depending who you are. For us, smooth is smooth with our client, and for the client, it's these people know what they're talking about smooth. The former you want for your sanity, latter for sustainability of your business. And a lot of it goes hand in hand. The things you do to make it smooth, AC makes it smooth, but not completely. A few differences on each side though. So smooth for the designer, for the developer, for whatever. We're not going to get into too much because you're kind of at the mercy of your clients on that they need to actually respond and do things. We'll show you some tips to help with that. But tight scopes and clear expectations and of course awesome execution on your end will be your best bets there. Really, we're going to look more at what's smooth for a client and what you can do to make things smoother for them, make things smooth. This is really what we'll cover today. Things such as this, or what I'm talking about. I'm in a zillion Facebook groups, and this was up the other day. So Someone posted this. I need some advice. My business partner and I hired a web designer to do our WordPress site. After lengthy discussions and pretty detailed process, the site they delivered to us today sucked. It was so generic, it was supposed to be a custom WordPress site, and it was worse than what it could have done with a template. We've done our due diligence, saw our other work, talked to references, not sure what happened. What would you do? Forgo the other 50%, start from scratch, or work with them to get as close as possible and hire a freelancer, make tweaks, improve it? I mean, this happens all the time. It's not good for them, it's not good for either party. No one comes out happy like, haha, I got them. I mean, no one's good. So we want to walk through ways to avoid that. You know, at this point, our options really are, you know, skip half the payment or 40, you know, you're in a bad spot at that point. So what do we do before all this to make it smooth? So, what causes a smooth project? What are things that cause it to happen? Really, 4 things we're going to go through today. There's a lot inside of those, but the 4 main things. Follow a process. And we'll spend a good bit of time in here, but we've covered our process before. We're going to dig into it a bit more just to kind of show how it ties into some of the tools we use and how that whole process, start to finish, makes things smooth. Don't just wing it and hope for the best. You may have a process you sort of use, but if you can get it written down, that was the best thing we ever did, like 3.5 years ago. It was actually formalized. Here's how we build a site. It was beautiful. It was so good. You know, an example of winging it was that Facebook example where the company just said, "Hey, here's your site." Like they thought they were going to give her comps, and I guess they didn't. And just there was no one knew. They just kind of said, "Oh, we'll build it, and maybe we'll give her a comp," and they didn't have a process apparently. We had someone once tell us, "I don't want to be boxed in by your rigid process." And it's not really if you dig into it. The process, if you do it right, is designed to keep it on track and keep things moving and not miss any steps, but still give you full freedom and, you know, design wizardry to use as you need. So we'll dig in more into the process. That'll be the main part we hit in a few minutes here. Have a system. We've talked about these a lot. We use Asana. Teamwork is solid. Basecamp's okay. Trello's out there. All those. We covered this in depth many times. I'm sure we will again someday. But really just a system that works on every computer you have and on your mobile device is key. We research this all the time, but really the only 2 I think are worth considering are Asana and Teamwork. I think any other you'd have to convince me otherwise, and if you disagree, then hey, go up here and we'll chat about that at the end. That's the kind of stuff I love to talk about and hear why other systems are better. We'll chat about that more, but this isn't really what today's all about. Again, happy to chat at the end about some ins and outs, but have a system of some kind that you trust. David Allen talks a lot about having a trusted system for things, that you don't have to worry if things are in there or not. An example he gives is with our calendar. Most all of us trust our calendar. If I say, "Are you worried about what you're doing on July 25th? Most people say, "No, I'm not worried. It's in my calendar, it's not," or whatever. But you get worried about stuff if you don't have a trusted system to put them in. So over time, we have to find a system and then grow to trust it. A big one for us is inbox zero. We talk about a lot. How many of you have more than 25 emails in your inbox? I see one head go down. There we go. How about this? This is even worse. I heard this asked once. How many have an email in your inbox that you've read but not acted on yet? I think we all probably have. I even have that now. I had a few come in that I looked at and now I haven't dealt with.
Those are the 300 that have little flags next to them.
Right, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about. That's so bad. But it's all right. It'll make you feel so much better when you get there. Comes back. I talked last week, last month, whatever, about David Allen's getting things done in a mind like water. Maybe it was at WordCamp. His whole philosophy is mind like water, which is cheesy but is awesome. His thought basically, if you've ever read his book, Getting Things Done, is you should react like a pond would when a rock is thrown in. If a small rock is thrown in, it has little ripples. If a big rock is thrown in, it has big ripples. And you respond appropriately when things come into you. You're on top of your game. When someone emails you, you can respond appropriately. Oh, that's a little deal, I can deal with it later. So a big problem, I can jump to it now. People that tend to have overwhelming emails and no systems just freak out about everything. We know some clients like this that freak out about every little thing that come in because they're not on top of things. And so everything is an emergency and it becomes a big mess. So this kind of goes back to having a proper system like an Asana or Basecamp to keep things in so you're on top of what's going on. Your inbox is cleaned out when things come in. You know where you stand. You can react appropriately. Case in point, I'm certainly imperfect on this, but as of Tuesday I looked, I have 389,463 emails in my Gmail and my Google, in my Green Melon account. And none of my inbox. I mean, it's taken a decade, but they're dealt with. You can keep them, but it doesn't mean they have to be in your inbox. You deal with them, you can archive them if you want. But yeah, it's not that I don't have inbox zero because I get few emails. It's because I just deal with them and have systems, and we'll get into that a little bit more too. Just a few tips on that. We'll go ahead and hit the inbox stuff now. The process will take most of the time at the end, but just some of my favorite things I've picked up over the years. The 2-minute rule. David Allen talks a lot about that. I talk about David Allen a lot. But if you get an email or get any kind of thing on your desk, I say email, but any kind of inbox, whether it's a paper or whatever, if you can deal with it in 2 minutes, just deal with it. I usually try to make it more like a 5-minute rule. If I get something, get it done in 5 minutes, get it done, get out of the way. Otherwise, I'm looking at it over and over throughout the day, and you end up spending, forever. Archive and delete like mad. I've gotten better and better at this over time. If you have 3,000 emails in your inbox, number 2,862 is never going to get done, ever. If you can learn that ahead of time when it first comes in, saying, I'm never going to get to this later, and can delete it or archive it or whatever, you'll be so much better off. Skip folders. This was beautiful too. Gmail sort of got this going for me, but Merlin Mann convinced me. So if you have folders, and you say, okay, I have folders for all my clients and all that stuff, it's great. It takes you maybe 5 seconds an email to drag it in the right place or wherever, figure out where it's going to go. At 100 emails a day, that's 50 hours a year you've just spent fiddling around dragging into folders. When you have Gmail or Office 360 where you can search and find stuff real quick if you need it. So I encourage you just have one big folder called archive, or if you use Gmail, just hit the archive button. And don't deal with all the folders and stuff. Keep the emails if you need. I mean, in theory, you shouldn't ever need emails again, but we all do. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I don't search my email a couple dozen times a day for old things, but don't worry about putting it in folders. You can find it in 2 seconds anyhow. And then unsubscribe. We were talking about this beforehand a little bit. Just slowing the flow to the extent possible is good. There's tools, Unroll Me, and some of those that help with that. But if you can cut down on what comes in, that's always good. A bit more from Merlin Mann. If you go to, I don't have it up there, but gmm.2/getinbox0. We've posted that before, just our old Inbox Zero post. We've got some good videos, but Merlin Mann has some great ones from a while ago, back when he was really good at this stuff, before he went crazy, I think. But this is his basic help. You get an email, either immediately, just do one. Delete it, delegate it. I mean, a lot of emails I get, frankly, go to Ashley or whoever, or Allie or whatever these happen. Just do it. Respond. If it's someone asks you a question, just write back. Get it done. Get it out of the way. Defer you can do, which means, again, put it in Asana. If they say, hey, can you load this PDF and change this other page? Or apply and say, great, I will. I'll put it in Asana, date it for tomorrow or whatever. Get the email out of there. Keep things clean and know what's going on. Or just do it. Again, that 2-minute rule. If they say, hey, can you load this PDF on the site? I'll go, load the PDF on the site and say, all set. Get it out of the way. A couple other random quotes from Merlin that were kind of fun. The only way to get email out of your life and out of your worrying brain is to either deal with it or get rid of it. If you're planning to do anything in between, you should have an explicit understanding of why you're doing so. If you're trying to mess around or flag it or whatever you're going to do, why are you doing that? Either deal with it, put it in a system, or get rid of it and move on with your life. This is David Allen has a similar one where he says, David Allen likes to talk more theoretical with your mind and stuff, but he says, only think about cat food once. If you realize, oh, I need to get some cat food, if that's sitting in your brain all day, holy cow, you're wasting so much of your brain. You should go into your trusted system, saying next time at the store, get cat food. Allie's great about this. She'll say, hey Siri, add cat food to my shopping list. And she knows it's on her shopping list, and whoop, she doesn't think about it anymore. So just have some way to do that. The last piece we'll talk about here with this stuff, I just saw the other day a life hacker or something. I think this also goes back to Merlin Mann, but stop thinking of emails like precious family heirlooms and start treating them like pints of milk. Perishable, time-stamped milk that gets a little less pressed every day until it smells kind of funny and you don't. Believe me, there will always be more coming. Just like the milk, it's always going to keep coming. So, yeah. Again, keep your emails if you need to, archive them, but don't, yeah. Anyway, enough of that. I think I made my point there. We're big believers in keeping our inboxes cleaned out, and I think that's so important to keeping projects running smoothly. If people can email and you can immediately respond appropriately, it can do a lot for you. The next one, checklists. We've talked about this in depth before, so I won't go too far. You can find the slides from that at gmm.2/WP checklists. We did a whole meetup all about that. We probably will again. But having pre-built checklists for projects.
Yes.
We have checklists for web projects, for SEO audits, for logo design, for print design, for email newsletters, for inbound marketing. We have pre-built checklists for all this kind of stuff. With Asana, it's beautiful. We actually keep them all in a shared Google spreadsheet, just in different tabs. Just list items down the screen in Asana. I can take that, paste it into Asana, and whoop, they all become tasks to do. Sometimes I'll put them in my Google Keep. If it's just a little one for me to work on, I'll put it in there, and whoop, it becomes a task in there I can check off later. It's beautiful.
What was the one you just said, Google what?
Google Keep is kind of the little notepad thing.
Oh.
Not unlike, what's the Apple's?
Reminders.
Just remind you. It's kind of like Apple reminders and stuff. The Keep works, again, I like ones that work everywhere. It works on iPhones and Android and Windows and Mac and web and everywhere. It's just a simple little note thing that you can either put notes in, or draw notes in, or have little checklists, and that's about it. So it's just fast and quick, and I can talk to my watch and, like I say, add something to keep it, a little note in there. It's just for any time someone says, my wife, 10 times I say, hey, before you leave, grab the suitcase out of the attic. I'll grab the suitcase out of the attic, so before I leave, I'll look at it. Still got to do that, otherwise I'll forget and get in trouble.
And then in reminders, you could say, in 5 minutes, remind me to.
Right, you can do that as well. You can give it time-based things or location things. I can say, when I get home, remind me to feed the dog. And when I get home, it'll pop up and say, "Boop, you're home, feed the dog." Or
And that's the Google one? or
Google
the-
Keep and Apple Reminders does that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
They both do very similar things. Again, it's like Google's simply because it works everywhere versus in its little ecosystem. But yeah, so we keep all our checklists in a Google spreadsheet, and you can see most of them at that list, at that link from before. Teamwork actually had a very nice task templates feature built in. You could build a task list in Teamwork and name it, call it Web Project. We started a new Web Project, say, hey, fill it with that list, and it would fill it in for you, which was nice. Both have their advantages. But yeah, so that's basically that stuff. So let's dig into our process a bit more. This is all on our website. We talked about it before. If you go to our website, go what we do in web design, it will walk through these steps on there. But we'll dig a bit deeper and show how they tie into other tools we use and some of that kind of stuff. Again, some of you have seen this process before, but hopefully we'll do a little different and dig into where we pull in Asana and some of these other tools a bit more. Again, add your questions as we go there, and we'll see what happens with that. All right. So discovery, I won't spend too long on. I think this could be a great topic in and of itself to dig into discovery and creating proposals and that kind of thing. The only real tip I have here that we use that is great is we use Google Docs quite a lot. We use Google Docs all the time. Again, it's a little different having a team versus being one person, but Allie and I can both be in there taking notes at the same time and correcting each other and all that kind of stuff. And then it's suddenly saved in our system for us to view later and all that kind of stuff. Kind of nice. Sometimes we pay discovery, sometimes free. Again, I think that becomes a whole different topic to talk about when you should be paid versus free. And I'd love to delve into that at some point and we all can talk about that. Because that could be a whole great, what questions you ask in discovery and all that kind of thing. I don't want to get into too much, but for us it's just, hey, tell us about your business, we'll tell you about our business, tell you what you need, here's how we go through it, see where things end up. Related, define the project, create a proposal. Give them a proposal, then give them a contract. Again, I think that would be another great one to dig into very deep in the future. But in our case, we say, hey, here's our thoughts, here's our thoughts on our prices, what do you think? And they'll say, we like that one, then we take it and build it to a big fancy contract with terms and all that kind of stuff. We talked about it, the first business one at the other library a few months ago. We got a little deeper into that, but that could be a whole good one just to cover those few in depth. But assuming you get that job, we have another little mini step in here that's not listed. Hey, add a checklist into your task system. Your contract probably included a timeline, or some kind of rough timeline, and it should have included all the work you were going to do for them. So now you have all that stuff, get it in your system so you don't miss anything. This is where Allie is phenomenal about getting all this stuff done and figuring out dates and just getting it all laid out perfect. So having Allie is very good advice too. That helps. So like in our Asana, for example, here's a project. So we just paste this in with Asana. If you put a colon at the end of an item, it makes it like a header. And so in our spreadsheet, some of them have colons. They look plain in there when you paste them in Asana. They magically become headers, and it's beautiful. So we got all this stuff in. It gives us our project in general, but it's certainly not perfect. And then we go through our scope of work and say, okay, they also need this piece, and they also need this piece, and where are we going to send the photographer out? Okay, let's put that task in, and we're doing keyword research on this one, let's put that in there somewhere, and maybe they don't need this piece. And we still have to finesse each one, certainly, but if you just paste it in and get it done, start assigning people, start giving it dates, it's going to help you so much. You can use that for the rest of the project going through. Update the dates as needed, update who gets them. The one problem with pasting them in from a spreadsheet into Asana versus using the built-in ones in Teamwork. In Teamwork, I could say, hey, here's this task list. When you add the 25% payment due, that always assigned to Allie every time. And this piece is always assigned here. With Asana, basically, you're just pasting in the text, and you have to deal with who gets them. So a little bit of a pain, but it's different for us every time anyhow. We may say, well, Allie's going to be on maternity leave, so in this case, we need to change some of these to that. And it's not a big deal, but Teamwork did work a little bit better on that kind of stuff. So that's going. We have that figured out. Collect assets. Not copy yet, not content from them, hopefully, because you probably don't have that yet. But start figuring out logos if you're not creating them yourself. I know a lot of you probably sue. Some of you, that's a lot of what you do is create logos, But start figuring that out. You can't do a whole lot until you have the look and feel established. Figure out where they're hosted, all that kind of stuff. Messaging strategy. Again, your process will be different depending on what you do. A lot of you may not do this if you don't have a Brook on hand to help you do that. For that piece, I recommend a Brook. Or that's where you can use a Genuine, or there's certainly other resources you can reach out to build that. And again, you may have, depending on what your project is, different things you need to do. But for us, we have messaging strategy, and there are a lot of times for clients to figure out what they're going to say, how they say it, boilerplate and all that. So, yeah, bro. Keyword research. We've done lots of this before. We've talked a lot about this before. Again, this is our next step. We still haven't gotten into copywriting or pages or design or anything. It's good to be very methodical about how you go through things and see, talking about smooth projects. The slower you go and the more thought out things are, the smoother it'll tend to go. So at this point, we'll begin keyword research if that's something we're doing for them. We do it, maybe half the sites we do, they want keyword research. The other half, they've either done it or that's not the top priority or budget doesn't allow or whatever the case may be. If that's not something you offer, we'll do a little interjection. Jenny and I are doing another boot camp later this summer. Woo! August 25th, journeyone.com/bootcamp. So we've done those. We do about one a year of those. It's like a full day keyword research thing that her and I lead. I do a lot of the technical stuff and she does a lot of the how to research keywords and find all that stuff. The difference this year, we're going to be aimed more at intermediate kind of SEO folks, which frankly is probably most of you. In the past we tried to do all levels, and so people like you come and get bored for the first 2 hours as we talk about the very, very basics. So we're skipping that and jumping in, to people that already know a little bit about what's going on. If you know a little bit about keywords, if you've installed Yoast before, again, we're not talking you have to be experts, but you're already off and running a little bit, digging deeper. So we'll have more about that later. We don't have pricing or location or anything yet. We have the date. We're going to do it then. We'll talk to you more about that later. Jenny was going to be here to pitch it more, but with school out, she had complications, so that happens. Keyword research is done, so now we can begin the sitemap. On a small site, this might be easy. Sometimes we have the sitemap almost done before we even did the project, just to figure out what's going on. But other times it could be hundreds of pages. Either way, we nailed this down tight before we went any further. But here's the pages you're going to have, because that's going to affect how the site's laid out. It's going to affect the content you need. It's going to affect a lot of things going forward. Here's a sitemap as an example. Allie used to do these in InDesign, I think, back in the day. Illustrator, there you go. Now we use SlickPlan, slickplan.com. We've talked about that before. Great little tool, like 15 bucks a month.
Yeah.
Everything's 15 bucks a month, so it's just kind of how it works. We have a lot of them. But it's great just for dragging and dropping. This page go here, that page go here. You can give your clients a link to check it out, and they can say, well, I want that page to go here. You add little notes to it, all that kind of stuff. It's awesome, and it gets awesomer as we get into future steps, and I'll show you why that is in a bit. We certainly get this nailed down, get them to sign off and say, this is perfect. If I change it, we'll have to pay more money. So this is how it's going to be. Now we can finally start copywriting. Now we know what pages we have, so now we can begin copy. We try to insist on writing it on behalf of our clients, because when we talk about smooth projects, this is the bumpiest part by far, waiting on them. We were talking yesterday to someone, if you have a 20-page site at 500 words a page, that's 10,000 words someone's writing. Your business owner's not going to sit down and knock out 10,000 words, certainly not 10,000 words that are any good anytime soon. So it's going to be slow going if they do it. So we try to insist on doing it ourselves, or at least help them a lot. It doesn't always work depending who they are. Some clients actually can write well. Sometimes budgets get in the way, but now you got to get started. And this goes on for a while behind the scenes as we hit future steps. Get that copywriting going, and hopefully you're doing it yourself. So with that copywriting, we have Content Collector. So we've built our own. We've shared that before. We have basically a WordPress multi-site. We spin off a new site each time. We can take our SlickPlan, export it into WordPress format. It has that built in. Import it to the site, and poof, have a little ugly, simple little site that has all their pages in it laid out just the way they need to be, and say, all right, client, you can log in here, give them a little tutorial on how to do it. Go edit each page, add your content, keep tweaking it until you're all done. I don't want to see it until you're done. You can change it 57 times, that's fine. When you say you're done, you're done. Works great. Building your own may not be up your alley. GatheredContent.com looks really slick. Really cool. The one problem is their cheapest plan is 66 bucks a month, and it goes up quickly from there. So that becomes a big problem. So I'm disappointed they cost so much, because they do some cool things where you can see changes between revisions easier, and it's made for gathering content from clients. It's great. For us, though, we have our little greenmelon.cc content collector. That's just a multi-site for people to log into and use. But either way, that works. But if you use SlickPlan with either of these, you can take that sitemap, export it, import it into your content collector or to gather content, put it in there, add all the content. When you're done, you can export that in WordPress format and put it in the staging site, and all the content is suddenly there without having to copy and paste anything. Granted, once it's on the staging site, you'll need to clean it up and add bold and links. A lot of work to do still, but you saved a whole lot of work of cutting and pasting just by a few imports and exports, and it's beautiful. Otherwise, the other way to do this is to have your client send you Word docs, and the process of that is kind of like this. You get the about page.doc, and then about page dash final.doc, and then final, and then final V2, and final V3, and come on, we've all seen this. It happens all the time. And so with this way, going back to our content collector, we say, do version 2, do version 17, I don't care, just edit it until you're happy with it. When you say you're done, you're done. We can certainly tweak it after we go live, but when you're done, you're done. I don't want any of this, holy cow, that's a pain. Because you think, well, I've got final version 2, this has got to be it. And Allie goes, no, I have version 3. And then Ashley said, no, I have version 4. Yeah, like, we don't play that game. So we let them know it's a WordPress site. You can always edit it later, but when you say your content's done, it's done. Don't deal with all of that stuff. So next up, architecture. So copy is still going. The content collector is going to be rolling on the side for a while. Even if we're writing it ourselves, it takes some weeks to write all that content. So we can move on in the meantime. So architecture being wireframes. Allie probably speaks to that better than me, but wireframes is just kind of laying out how it's going to look without worrying about colors, without worrying about content, without worrying about pictures. Because if you present them a design at this stage, they're going to say, oh, but the green's not the right green I need. I need, a different blue. Why use the picture of the kid? It should have been the picture of his mom. Like, not even thinking about the right stuff. So you do this just to keep it simple. Like, is this laid out how it should be? This comes down to knowing your own process and what you're capable of. If you always use a certain theme, you'll know, like, gosh, with Divi, it's hard to do 3 along. Maybe I'll always make it 4. You can kind of shift how you need to a little bit. Hopefully, over time, as you get better and as technology improves, things like Beaver Builder, you can do pretty much anything you want without much work. Or if you have an Ashley, you can do whatever you want with more work, but she does it all. So. But in our case now, it used to be, 4 or 5 years ago, Allie would say, okay, Vicki, here's this wireframe. I'm like, no, don't have that overlap, because that's a pain. Now it's easier. We do pretty much what you want, but you know your skills and what you can do, so take that into effect. But Allie calls this her puzzle pieces. She says, I know on the home page we want to talk about these 3 things. We need a call to action to this. We need a assignment form for the mailing list. Here's all the stuff. Let's put them together this way. Let's put them together this way. And just try out some different ways and see what they think and work on that with just the layout in mind, without worrying about colors and all that kind of stuff. It works very, very well, because then, again, they get that signed off, and you're not worried about after it goes live, then saying, oh, I wish you could switch this over here. No, we're already done. We can talk about that later if you want to pay more, but we've already finished it. We're good to go. So now here we are, 43 slides in, and we're finally talking about design, and this is very intentional. I'm a believer that the further along the process design is, the better you come out. This is evidenced by, GoDaddy website tonight, where step 1 is pick your design, and you end up with it. Or any of those things, Squarespace. Squarespace can do some good things, but step 1 is pick your design and then hope you can make your stuff fit later. For $8, if that's all you got, maybe that's okay. But as a general rule, the further down you go, the better you are there. And I'm not a designer, so I'm not going to talk design much. I know some of your How conference, they all spoke it much better. My only 3 tips: 1, listen to the client. 2, push back if needed. And 3 is be an awesome designer. And that's kind of where I had to fall off. I know. I've learned some of these tools before. I'm just not a good designer, so this is why I partner with Allie and we make all this stuff happen. To figure out who you are, whether you're a designer or not. Some of you are, and you need to find a developer, or what you're going to do. But yeah, be awesome at design is kind of a big piece here that I just can't make happen no matter what I do. So happen otherwise. Let's see. So design example. So again, there's our site you've seen before. With wireframe, it should pretty well look about the same, and hopefully it does. Again, hopefully. When you're developing, you know what your skills are in the wireframe, you can make it come to life in the final one. That's where, again, smooth projects can be derailed when you say, well, here's our wireframe, and the final layout's not anything like that. It could cause some issues, especially if they agreed to the wireframe, then you can't quite make it execute because it's weird to overlap the little doohickey on the side or whatever. Be careful with that.
Yeah, I try to leave as many design elements out of the wireframes as possible.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard. You obviously have to have. We're going to have blocks here, we're going to have squares here, and that one's a bad example because it's not a bad example, but that's our own website, so I've obviously said we're going to need circle icons, but if you can leave all creative out of the wireframes and really just think through usability and layout, then you're going to have more flexibility in the design phase than you would if you said, we're going to overlap these elements because it goes with the brand of your overlapping logo, let's leave that for the design.
Right, so you would make these blocks now, you're saying? Down here probably, just to say these will be icons of some sort.
Or little X's, yeah, just like icon here.
Yeah, some kind of icons, that way you're not locked into it. Good point, yeah.
And are you wireframing now for, obviously for mobile, desktop and mobile? Is there a tool, or are you still kind of
you can
hand
do,
drawing those?
the newest tool is Adobe Experience. And that's kind of the whole idea is designing for each of the different sizes. So we're starting to play that. Literally was just released this year. So we're starting.
Does it really start with pencil paper?
Always.
Always.
Wiring, always. Logos and everything. If a designer does not start with pencil and paper, I don't trust them. Because that's your brain dump.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But this, I didn't do it for Green Melon. If a client wants to have the whole wireframe experience, because really what we're trying to do is set goals for what's the goal on mobile, what's the goal on desktop, what's the goal on,
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Remember, there's some now that believe you should do wireframe and design and stuff for mobile first. And
Right.
figure out what the mobile is and then figure out the desktop version after that. So it depends on how you work.
I think it's just, and this is what Ashley and I got from How Conference this past week, is just setting goals for each of the devices, and that will get you, at least get your mindset, no matter where you start. I don't think it matters. I just think you need to make sure you have goals set for each one. You know, if your goal for mobile is to get people to call you, then your phone number needs to be front and center. But on the website, if it's to get people to,
Fill out a form.
fill out a form, then
Allie, do you have clients who look at that and be like, I don't understand what I'm looking at? And,
no, because I walk them through it like they're in elementary school.
okay.
I will literally do a screencast or a presentation live, and I would never just send it over and be like, what you think? I just do a very, here's what we're looking at. This is the navigation bar. Tell them what you need feedback on.
Okay.
Don't just leave it open for, what do you think? Say, here's the navigation bar.
You explain why.
This is why we did it. Here's the feedback we're looking for. Here's the header. Here's why we did it. Here's the feedback we're looking for. And really walk them through, just hold their hand.
And you're showing them this?
Yeah, she does
Yeah.
a screencast with that on the screen and her voice behind it, or again, or live.
Yeah. And then you get a lot less, then they trust you.
So that's something you maybe just record and then you send that over to them. You don't actually have to get. So you could do it at 9 o'clock at night and gotcha. Perfect.
I do that.
We do a lot of screencasts. Allie does a lot for that kind of stuff, and I do a lot for question answering later. I mean, I very rarely type back a reply if they say, how do I do such and such? I'll just usually do it for them and record and talk myself through it. I said, if you go to the back end, you click on pages, and you click on edit, you see at the bottom, there's your thing, I'll type in the new phone number, and then you go hit save in the top right. And so then say, your change is all done, and here's a video on how to do it yourself if you want to next time. And they just love it. It doesn't take you any longer. It takes you 10 seconds longer to do, and they think it's amazing that you made this custom video just for them. It worked out well, especially for, in Allie's case, if you really walk through that.
Yeah, it's just really making them feel like you're telling them your suggestions rather than asking them what they think.
Right.
It's like, this is why we're the experts. This is why you came to us. We're not saying, what do you want to say? What do you want it to look like? We're saying, here's how it should look, because we've studied your company, we've studied your competition, and that's what we're trying to do.
But you don't ever have anybody want to see that with design elements in it.
We say that's next. As soon
Yeah,
as
they
you
want to all the time. We explain why they don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you gotta explain the structure of it first.
You build the blueprint before you build the house.
Right.
Yeah, I would never say, I guess I want my master bedroom here, because it'll look nice when you walk into the door, but oh crap, I didn't even think about how loud people are when they walk in the door. My master bedroom's right there.
Right.
So, it's really thinking through it kind of in that way.
We still get people all the time ask us, can we just get a comp here? Can we see a design for it? And we just push back and say, no, you can't. Here's the process. Hopefully we walk through this process with everyone so they understand what to expect. And then it is frustrating. They want to get to design, and we do too.
And it's hard. It's honestly, and all way too personal, but I used to want to be an architect. I was going to go to architect until I found out it was a 5-year program, and it was really expensive. But so thinking through all of these different elements and things like that it takes a certain mindset, and it's not necessarily a design mindset. It's more of a structure. So even when I present these, sometimes I'll do my screencast and I'm 9 minutes into it, and I realize that I should have done this, and I'm like, crap, it would have made a lot more sense. It's definitely a mind game when you get into it. It's like building a puzzle. So there's even when you get to design, there's things where I'm like, this is working a little bit better, but I can tell the client we got into this and we realized this is gonna work a little bit better, here's why we're doing it, and they still trust you.
How
So
much
you're-
copy do you have at this point from them?
How much copy?
Yeah.
Well, that's why we brought
Content.
in Brooke, because I wanted desperately for years to have a copywriter sitting next to me when I do things like this. So now Brooke and I can sit and collaborate and say, let's tell the story and then make that story come to life in structure and then make it come to life in picture. So I never start a website without understanding their story first and almost writing their story out. Because there's always a once upon a time, then this happened, and then the end. And if you can kind of do that in your structure, then you're not going to deviate from what's true to the company.
Yeah, the main content's still going. We, at this point, we have hopefully the messaging strategy established, and then Brooke can sit with Allie and say, well, here's the main headline, and
Yeah.
how are we going to fit that in? Really, we need a paragraph, probably not a paragraph, 2 sentences on the side, so a little more space there.
And sometimes the client's able to provide a messaging strategy. You know, you say, do you have a mission and a value statement and a problem and solution statement already drafted that we can pull from?
Right.
And if they say no, then, you know, we're not business consultants, so we're not here to develop your value proposition. We don't really have that staff, you know, capability. I mean, that's big. That's big agency stuff. But at least we can say, give us your best elevator pitch, and then we can kind of turn that into something like that works.
Well, that would happen maybe in the discovery.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I mean, honestly, break discovery out. Don't try to cram it all into discovery because you're going to overwhelm people.
Yeah. Okay.
It's discovery, then it's messaging, then it's goal setting, then it's wireframing. There's so many different pieces and conversations that can be had. It's just how you're comfortable having them. Is it all at one time? Is it broken out into how big's the project? You know, do you really need to talk about? Or is it a template-based site and you say, give me everything you've got and I'll make it pretty? I mean, it's just, there's really how you want to approach it.
All right, so design, moving on to development. Development, we don't do any local development. I think there's a lot of good advantages there. We typically develop on a server, whether it's one of ours or ideally on the client's new server they're going to get or somewhere hidden on their existing one, just to eliminate PHP version issues and MySQL version issues and all that. We just know it's on there, it's going to work. And it's beautiful because if I'm doing it locally here, and Ashley needs to hop in and work on stuff, you've got to sync up and sync that, like all that. She can just hop on and make changes, you know. We have backups running constantly and everything, and it works well.
Yeah.
A few thoughts on development. Always be getting better. Come to Aaron and Diana's meetup, go to other meetups downtown, read tons of blogs, just be improving all the time. I guess with all this stuff, that's kind of true. And if possible, pick a framework. You know, we use Genesis, Studio Press kind of stuff, which is great. A lot of you use Divi, that works well. You know, Chris uses Beaver Builder, I think exclusively. You know, actually we're mixing it in with stuff now. But pick something you know what you're good at, and that'll make the rest of the process easier for you. You say, I know with this system, I can build that wireframe and this layout, and I know how to make that happen, and that's going to work out well. I think Aaron uses Bootstrap maybe. Diana uses her own system she built. But again, whatever, which is awesome. Whatever you use, but she knows what her system, you know, how it works and how it comes together. And like, okay, based on Bootstrap, so there you go. But just be consistent. I think that helps us a ton too when we decided we're using Studio Press, we're going to learn it, and we know it awesome. I'm not saying it's the best per se, we think it is, but there's others that are very good, but we know it very well. It's kind of the key. You know, knowing your system very well makes the process smoother, makes development smoother, makes your site look more like your wireframes like it's supposed to. It just works well all the way around. Our next step is staging. Again, this is sometimes on our server we have a little gmstaging.com/client name. We can put them on there. A lot of clients they're wanting to move hosting when we go, so we have to sign up for the new hosting, and we actually do staging on there with the ridiculous testing URL that the new hosts give you, because then we know it's there. We don't have to move anything for launch. We hide it from Google. It's beautiful. We know it's going to work 100% because it's already on there with that version of PHP, that version of MySQL, all that kind of stuff works very well. That's just our next step in the process along the way.
I'm confused between the development and the staging.
Yeah, they do kind of run together. Development is more us developing on their server, and staging is almost like, now client, you come look at it. It's really kind of the same.
I kind of do it all in one.
It is. They do really overlap quite a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. But we do it hidden for a while, and then that's kind of development. And then staging becomes, now here you can see the link now. Now you can look at it. So it's really, it's all kind of one piece. But yeah. And then launch. Again, I encourage you to go back to the gnm.2/WP checklists for that link I sent before. Because launch, we tell clients launch takes 10 minutes, it's not a big deal, but then we spend almost all day going through making sure everything is perfect. Our launch checklist is ginormous, a lot of it is on there. You probably can't read that, and that's almost intentional. That's part of our launch day checklist. And these are all like 1-minute tasks. Make sure there's no unused plugins in there, make sure they have a favicon, make sure WordPress is allowed search engine indexing, lots of things that should already be done, probably already are done. But let's just make positive, make sure it's perfect before we're done.
Wouldn't I need that checklist?
That Google one burns people more often than I could ever imagine that people leave that checkbox checked so Google will go away. Because when you're on a staging server, you should have that checked. You don't want Google to be indexing the staging one and their live site and all that's a mess. So you say Google go away, but when you launch it, I'm darn sure you uncheck that. The latest example I saw, Riverstone Church, they're a great church. I know some folks that go there, and I've emailed them a few times. They've had that box checked for months, and they have not fixed it. It's one little checkbox, and it's killing them. If you search for them on Google, show me all the pages from Riverstone Online. There's one page that has their homepage and says description is not available. And there's no other pages. No worship pages, no children. It's just one stupid little checkbox. But again, that's a lot of these things on the list are stupid little things that could be a pretty big deal. So, if you forget to install some kind of, we install our block bots to keep their analytics looking good. If we forget to install that, their analytics are going to go a little sideways. If we have some hard-coded CSS references that are pointing to a staging site somehow, it's going to look good when we launch, but then when our browsers stop caching that in a few days, it's looking bad, but oh, by the way, their customers have been seeing the bad one all along. There's lots of little things that can be, time zone settings may not matter, but if they schedule a post go out tomorrow at 2, they don't go out tomorrow until 7 because you've set them for Greenwich Mean Time instead of New York time, There's lots of little things just to make sure are perfect.
And you've got that checklist where for us to totally...
gn.2/WP checklists. It's in a presentation on there. I don't have like a PDF of it, but
Okay.
if you Google for like WordPress checklists and stuff, there's tons of sites. I found a book, the whole book of checklists, and ours changes all the time. Again, that's why we have the shared Google spreadsheet. Ashley might say, next time we launch, we got to make sure, we've added some new ones to it, like, let's see, send a thank you card to the site owner. That's not real new, but things like that.
Validation when we added that one up on.
Yeah, check validation, check, just lots of little things. We think something new, we add it into our shared spreadsheet, so next time we go into Asana to paste it in, poof, it's got the latest version is in there. It works well. So there's that checkbox you've all seen, and the settings reading, discourage search engine from indexing the site, which again, while you're developing is great, but it's so bad it's there. Indexing, of course, for those that aren't aware of it, Google doesn't search the internet. I've said many times, Google makes a copy of the internet on their servers, and when you do a search, it searches there and spits out the results. If you say, Google, don't index my site, then none of your site goes on their servers, and none of your site ever comes up in the search results, and you end up like that, where no one ever finds your site through Google, which is usually a very bad thing. Training, we do training for our clients to some degree, depending on what they need, show them how to use WordPress. Even if most of our clients want us to help manage stuff after we go live, which is great. We're happy to do that for them. We still like to go through just little training, say, here's your site, here's how we built it, here's the plugins we chose to use, here's why we did this. Just like Allie said, we're explaining why we did things instead of saying, here you go, just trust us. I'll walk through the plugin and say, here's why I did this plugin and that plugin and this other one. And then in a lot of cases say, well, we want to update our own blog post. We'll say, great, we're going to add a new post, let's walk through, here's how you add media, and just kind of do a live, usually a 1 or 2 hour in-person or video chat kind of training thing. We don't have other training materials per se. I know other companies do that, and that's pretty cool, but we don't have like a booklet or anything. We just tell them to ask us questions if they get stuck, and we can help them out. And then ongoing improvements, we all have different levels of that. If you finish a site and just say, good luck, you're doing them a huge disservice. Just reading, somewhere between 30 and 40,000 sites are hacked daily. And on WordPress, I think 80% of those, because they were outdated on either the site, WordPress or plugins. So go back through your portfolio, make sure either they're up to date, and if they're not, it's a great opportunity for you to jump in and say, hey, I see you're not keeping up on the updates like I told you should. I can do it for you for X a month. I'll keep it going, keep it backed up, whatever. We've talked about a lot of tools for that before. We love Manage WP. That's just kind of a quick look back of 143 sites in there, and Brooke goes in there a lot. And I go in there some, and we update plugins and run backups and clean out spam and all kinds of stuff. Again, I like Manage WP over the others because of their backups, because we have 142 and I took that, but everything is fine on 142 sites. It's ridiculous. You won't get that with Backup Buddy or with Infinite WP or anything else. Chris?
Are they going to, did I read that they're going to go free, like name WP or WP name?
Yeah, very soon, and their very soon timelines are not very good, but soon. Yes, it'll be completely free for plugin updates and WordPress updates and some of that. And then backups, I think, will be $1 per site per month. They'll have a few different things for $1 per site per month. But the main system to add your clients to handle plugin updates and core updates will be free, and then you can add the backups for $1 a month. And yeah, that'll be great. It actually worked great for most of you. It would be bad for us. It's going to like triple our cost, but I'm okay with it because I think it is hugely valuable. And again, that right there is amazing. You know, we've tried so many backup tools, and because we let clients host wherever they want, if they're on GoDaddy or on, where's Ryan Kaplan, on British Telecom Internet or something ridiculous, but they insist on staying there because that's what their phone system's through, and they don't want to pay more for it. Backups just fry all the time, and these guys, I don't know how they do it, it just works. They go slow and get it done, and you can go back any day in the past and say, I want the backup of just this one file from 3 weeks ago on Thursday, you can go grab it and download it. I mean, it's ridiculous, it's awesome. Infinite WP, I think same, main WP, there's certainly other good ones out there, especially if your clients are better hosting, your options are more open. And depending how furious you are about backups. I know Aaron Ryman in particular, he puts all their clients on, I just lost the name, WP Engine, which is a great host. And they do great backups. I think he pretty much counts on that for their backups, yes? Is he the one that said that, I think?
I know that's why I
And CodeGuard.
Yeah, I was going to say, CodeGuard's another great way to back up. I don't ever trust hosts with the backup. I like that. I like when they have it. I like it as if more backups are always a good thing. CodeGuard's another good way to back up. And neat thing with CodeGuard is they have a free version you can use that backs up all the time, and you only have to pay if you have to restore, which is brilliant.
But it only saves 7 days.
Yeah, it doesn't save as far back. Yeah, you pay. I think they have a plan starting at $5 a month,
$5
maybe.
a month.
Which again works well, but doesn't scale up well. Where this is $1 a month per site, and if I wanted to throw all my clients on CodeGuard, I'd be out. Crap, what was that? $800. You know, I'm not sure I want to do that. So, but if you just have a few though, CodeGuard is awesome, and the advantage CodeGuard has over any of the others is if the site crashes hard and isn't recoverable, or like you can't get into it. These backups are great in your hand, but you can't say fix my site for me because the plugin's broken. The site's down, you can't get into it to fix it. CodeGuard goes a different way in and still can restore. So there's a lot to be said there. What we'll talk about next time in the backup and restoring is that if everything crashes and I just have these files in hand, we'll show you how to quickly take those files, use some software, and put it back up and get going there. So yeah, so that's basically it. They're live and they're being kept up. So let's see, questions we have. Let's see if you came in here. So we'll see how this thing works. Okay, I think we already saw this one. Let's see, Nick Pink, wireframing, how often your clients really understand what they're looking at as opposed to needing to see it with design elements. So yeah,
Yes.
we kind of covered that. So, yep, awesome. Let's see. This is a good one. I'll let Allie maybe handle this one. Okay, what do you do when the client says, I just don't want to change any of my content, just use what I have on my site now? Yes, and put it in the WordPress content staging site, despite the fact it probably has to change something about the content later. We get that some where they say, our content, just use what we have now, even though it doesn't quite fit. I'm thinking of a recent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess if a client said that to me during pre-contract discovery.
Yeah, because this would probably come up during discovery. You said, do you want copyright? And say, no, I have to use everything I have.
Right. We would say, well, there's so many different angles. Okay, one is a content audit. We could say, well, great, let us take a look at your content and give you our suggestions on whether it's optimized for the web, because writing for the web is so much different than writing for, just a brain dump. I mean, if you look at their content and they're like, it's pretty solid, it's in sections, it's, we've got short headers, short paragraphs, keywords, yada yada, linking within the site, then say, okay, well, you just need to be mobile responsive, so we'll take your content and run. But 9 times out of 10, it's just going to be a brain dump of research paper type stuff that you need to manicure. So I guess I would just offer my best suggestions and say, we offer content editing, where we can say, we'll take what you have and for half the price we'll edit it, or something like that. But
I think another issue too is when you get into it, their sitemap's going to change too. They're going to say, really, we should split these services from
Right.
2 to 3, probably add a page here. Well, we don't have any content for that. So we can
That's a
still
good
use
point.
what they have for a lot of it, but then still, that's where copy editing is great. So what I want, instead of one big services page, I want 5 separate ones. Well, copy editing is great. We take the 5 you have, pull it off that one page into separate ones and build it back out and, add headlines.
Yeah,
and-
maybe blame it on the sitemap, like, well, you came to us to reorganize all your content, so.
For that one page that just has like 2 external links on it and no other content.
Yeah.
Right? Think we can kill that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you can dress it up and call it a content audit. We're going to do a content audit of your site, and it's 5 hours of your time to go through and read everything and present your findings, and make it sound make it sound a little bigger than just well, I looked at it and it sucks. So,
Content auditing. Okay, that's code for.
yeah.
Cool.
Needs to
Yeah,
be
that helps.
Let's see, Isaac, I think we sort of got this already, but you have clients who get impatient with the copy and keyword process and want to see design too early. I'd say always. They want
Yeah,
to.
I always try to build the excitement a little bit and just be like, the fun stuff's coming, it's like the design's on its way, we're getting so much closer, and just make it suspenseful for them almost.
So maybe adding to that, because yeah, I think we all have that. But what do you do to prevent the client from then seeing it live and then being like, oh, now that I see it, I really want this, and you were headed in a completely different direction from what the previous steps.
Yeah, we've had one client do that recently, I guess.
Mhm.
The way that we counteracted that is we always allow for a set number of revisions on every step, and we say, got it, totally, I'm reading you plain and clear, I see what you're saying, we hit revisions already on that phase, which was design or which was wireframe, whatever it really impacts, and say, happy to make these changes for you, it's just going to be billed hourly now that we're past our revisions.
Gotcha.
And then
Having good contracts in place.
You mean for letting them see it, for having them see it while you're still building it?
No, so like what I've run into is you work through the copy phase. They're kind of like, I don't quite understand,
Right.
I'm like, let's wait on the design. We're gonna get there, And you have them give you all the copy, and you let it, it's all laid out, and good hierarchy and all that. And you build the site up for them, and they're like, oh, now I see what you meant about this and this. Well, I'd really like for it to look like this now that we've, now that I see that I want to add in these other sections and blah blah blah. So it just changes once they kind of like see it come to life. I feel like their opinions sometimes change.
I think I would hit them with revision or change order or something that's been, nicely stated in the contract after a learning experience that you already had and had to suck it up and deal with it last time. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Am I missing something? That's
No,
a
I
better
think
answer?
the one issue you were thinking about was a scale issue too, where the design was too big.
No, that's another. Yeah, I was thinking about the whole header changing
Oh, gotcha.
from
Okay.
a static call to action to
Right.
dates or
Yeah.
But we have had that issue where we're showing them mock-ups or comps, and they're not viewing it at 100%, or they're
Yeah,
doing,
it's a big one.
yeah,
Oh,
and then they see it on the
too
web.
small.
They're like, oh my god, it got so big. It's like, oh.
And they don't understand like full width, like what that means. Like you keep expanding your browser and it keeps going with the browser, and they don't understand that they want it to be kind of old school and standing in the center.
Yeah, I try to.
Did you just tell them to look on their iPhone and that'll take care of that?
Yeah, I try to explain the difference between a container site and a full website. Do you, or it sounds like you're wanting a container site. Let's figure that out during wireframe.
Do you try to discourage them from that because full is
No.
in?
No,
Okay.
no, because I don't like jumping on the trend bandwagon either.
Yeah.
If there's a reason for it to be contained and they've got a lot of content that doesn't need to,
Yeah, we still go wide, just not contained. We still go 1100 pixels wide. It doesn't have to be a 660 like it used to be, but it still can be contained at big size.
Yeah, some of the best websites out there. I mean, Charity Water is a contained site.
Which one?
Charity Water, like the
Nonprofit.
gold standard of nonprofit websites. But yeah, it happens. I just try to maybe have a good contract in place.
So we end up kind of building the empty house. Here's your site map. These are the home page and category pages, and these are the page layouts. And now client, and not in all cases, but in many cases, we're waiting. You bring us the content. We've had that conversation. This is what good content looks like, and images and all that. And so it's kind of our approach is, and we use that term. we built this empty house for you, we've identified that it's 28 pages, and, you know, now we're waiting on content, and that's a separate process, and so, you know, we've got to continue to go after them, and a lot of times we've got 2/3 of the content, and we're putting that in, but then that becomes the checklist. We still need something for this page, we still need something for this page, and so, I mean, we don't really get into the copywriting process in advance, in most cases.
Do you find that stalls your projects?
Well, it does, because again, you know, they're business owners, they're not copywriters, and so.
Especially the business. Now, if you're working with a marketing person,
Yeah.
you've got more chances of
Yeah,
success.
so we've got to understand that, anticipate that up front, have that conversation up front. But they also know that they're getting billed 50% up front, and then 50% in, it's either 30 days or 60 days, whether the site is done or not. So, but even then, now we've got a site that is fully paid, that's still not launched, and it's not great for us, it's not great for them.
Right.
But, you know, that is, you know, one of the challenges. We're waiting on photographs right now on a project that, you know, should have been launched a month ago. And, we had the conversation and still just waiting on those photographs.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's when you just want to control it. The control freak in me just wants to control everything.
Yeah,
Let
and
us
you're
do the
tempted to say,
content.
let me run out and take these photographs
Oh, yeah,
for
let me-
you. And,
we've got
I've suggested that before.
I have suggested that.
I have a camera, I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's going to take you another year to get a
Yeah.
photographer on this job. Yeah.
This is a little one-off, but along those lines, like, do you guys spend a lot of your time chasing that stuff down for clients? Or do you just like get to a point where you're like, when they're ready to come back to us, we'll jump back on it, but we're not gonna spend our time and energy like forcing?
That's you.
Pause.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, I am the babysitter. That's my job. And I will put a touch point in weekly, every other week, whatever feels right for that client. You know, sometimes I don't even get a response for a week, so it becomes a monthly touch point to say what's the status of these things. That's just project management. But so, I mean, there's some clients that you know are not invested, and they are so far removed and not giving you what you need that you just finally say, I am not playing the parent role anymore. I'm just going to stop touching base until they reach back out to me. Hopefully you have that payment structure that allows you to do that, where you're at least a third of the way, or 2/3 of the way paid up or something. And that said, we do have a term in our contract called the pause clause, where ours states if you're waiting on client feedback or deliverables for over 10 days, I mean, that's not long. Sometimes you're waiting for a year.
Years.
Green Melon has the ability to pause the project. And what that means is we stop touching base with you. I may still touch base quarterly if it takes, you know, if it's that kind of project. And we will only reinstate the project when you come back with the feedback requested and when it's good for our timeline.
Yeah, that way they're not coming back to you saying, all right, I got you everything.
Now I
Where's
need it
the
tomorrow.
week?
So the contracts, the clause says, if you come back and we're weeks out before we can start back on your project, then so be it. Some people's pause clauses say there will be a fee to reenact the project because I have to get my team back into the groove with whatever we talked
Relearn the
about.
whole project.
Yeah. Right. So we haven't pushed the pause clause fee yet, but I certainly threaten.
the threat works too well too.
Threats work.
It really does. She said, we're gonna put it on pause in 2 days, we're gonna get stuff, oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and then
So if
they
I don't hear
still
back
don't
from you
do it.
by Monday, the project's going on pause and we will not reinstate it until we have all feedback from you and it's
Yeah,
best
so
for
back
us.
to you.
Yeah, Allie's the mean.
That's not an email, that's a conversation.
Yeah, well, it can go either way. If you can't get them on the phone.
That
the
wouldn't
other
look
thing.
good in an email.
No, I'm a very nice mean person. It's a gift.
Put a little emoji next to it, smiley face.
Because no matter what, everything I say is the client's best interest. And so I just say, you know, at the end of the day, it sounds like you guys have a lot of things going on. It's so awesome. I'm so glad that you're growing at the speed that you're growing. If we're not priority right now, let's figure out a situation where this works for everybody. You know, it doesn't have to be a bad conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, really, if they're taking that long to give you feedback, that's their decision, and you're just submitting to it at the end of the day.
You're acknowledging that you're not.
That we're not priority.
Bug them anymore, yeah.
Like, okay, and then you get out of your inbox now.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right, Allie, another one for you.
Okay.
Caitlin, do you use a branding questionnaire with your clients?
Yes, I have a lot of questionnaires. If the project involves a branding before, because we have several companies companies that come to us and already have brand standards in place, and already have a logo and all of the files, and they're in great shape, they just need a new website. So then the branding conversation becomes more of what's in place and let's implement. If we get the opportunity to do a website from rebrand all the way through launch, which is awesome, I have a questionnaire, and I usually ask that live over the phone because I like hearing emotion behind it. You know who you can talk to who's not here is Allison Chandler. She has just, and she's just a freelance, just Allison Chandler Design. She has just revamped her whole branding questionnaire and approach, and the way that she's going to present logos and branding packages. And she's really, that's kind of her core, and she's spending a lot of time getting that to a place where she's comfortable, including, I forget where she was saying, doing mood boards and all that stuff just before she even presents a logo, and filling up 10 pages in sketchbook, just all the things that you probably do yourself, but making those tangible deliverables to the client helps a lot.
We've got to check a questionnaire. It's a Word document, and it's like 15 questions, and what makes you unique, and I mean, it's the kind of questions you can find anywhere. And if possible, we ask them to get whoever's part of the team, so the owner or the marketing man, 3 or 4 people, ask them to fill it all out independently and send that to us. Now, if they do that, then we're going to charge for a little bit of this process of gathering it, and then meeting back with them and saying, now you said that your value proposition was this, and so-and-so said this, it was customer service, and somebody else said it was our price and value, and so if it's a process where you're really trying to help them establish that, we obviously charge for that. But on smaller businesses, we've just sent it out, and we've gotten good feedback where people said, wow, I'm glad I stopped and had to think about this. Who am I? What do I do? Who do I do it for? How do I do it? And it gives us some talking points. It helps us kind of position them, target them a little bit.
I love that. Yeah, that's a great angle.
Cool. And the last one, Caitlin.
I asked a lot of questions.
That's good though. This is the best part though, is hearing what y'all have to say. How much design do you typically do before starting development? Just the homepage and internal, more? So in terms of wireframes, there's wireframes then design. I think every wireframe gets designed typically, yes?
No.
Okay, I couldn't remember, yeah. So we'll do, at the very least, we'll do a homepage and internal page wireframe, often more than that. If we have a special custom post that we're doing, or a category page we need to do, or whatever, we'll do more wireframes, and then design. Talk to the design, I guess, a bit more.
Yes, I look at it more, how many different views are there going to be on the website, how many different pages need a unique layout kind of thing, and that's how I determine how many wireframes are needed. And then for design, oftentimes we will design a home page and an internal page that contains all of the possible elements that will be used throughout the site. Not necessarily a page in its final form, like this is what your About Us page is going to look like. More like here's the internal element guide of all of the internal things that might be on it. Here's buttons, and here's a staggered approach, and here's
Different modules.
different modules. Yeah. So that way they're approving the modules. It might be a crazy long internal page with all those different pieces to it. And I'm kind of saying that we don't do that always, but that's usually, I like when we're able to accomplish it that way. And that way, they're not necessarily approving their about, because you may not honestly have the content in hand to design the About Us page exactly how it's gonna look.
Right.
So it may still be placeholder text with buttons are gonna look like, what the pricing table's gonna look like, what the events plugin's gonna look like, kind of thing.
And that way design can kind of design all of those elements, and then when I'm building the site, I can pick and choose what I need from, like, okay, yeah, I need a button, so she's already designed the button, so like, I can put it here. She didn't lay this page out, but I know from the modules that she designed how to plug and play.
Yeah, and then hopefully the wireframes that we did for, if we did 7 wireframes for this website, we know that this wireframe is going to have these buttons and these different modules based off of the design. So it becomes more of a guideline rather than a prototype or a comp.
Cool.
Yeah. So sometimes we'll do 2. Honestly, the most internal pages that we've designed recently are 2. If there's one generic, here's a content page with the different columns and lists and buttons and modules, and then here's a custom post type or something that's going to have a unique lookup or a landing page that's going to have a unique look. So, not that many. Honestly, we cut back on design quite a bit and do a lot more wireframes. More because Ashley's so good at development and imagining what it could look like from a wireframe.
Cool. Other questions? I think that's all we had here. So, cool. We'll see you in 2 weeks then. Yeah, 2 weeks at Kathy's, then 3 weeks here for backups and all that stuff.